Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Valley of the Judged. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me, I have one good brother and one good sister. We have the man who has made some smarter choices in terms of what he cosplays in the hot Texas sun. Good brother Monarch.
I feel like since this is probably going to be my last Valley for quite some time, I should lead with some kind of a hot take.
Oh boy.
Oh.
I like the Fallout Boy version of Beat It more than the original.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, there's something there. But, and of course, our resident guard wolf of the monastery, good sister Bailey.
It is I, Bailey. I'm high on Diet Pepsi and I'm ready to fucking party.
You know, I would ask how someone gets high on Diet Pepsi, but I've seen stranger things happen.
Yeah, Diet Pepsi is like drugs for the wolf.
And give me some credit, at least they didn't make a Duran Duran joke.
Oh, I love Duran Duran.
But so after a bit of a diversion, we are back at it with what is going to be the finale. Originally, this was going to be the penultimate episode, but given some of the things in what would be the final, there wasn't enough meat on the bones, so now we're combining the two.
Yeah.
It's not the first or the last time we've done that kind of kit bashing.
Yeah. I will just kind of really quickly summarize what the whole templating thing is. It is basically a really detailed guide to doing a session 0 with campaign setting expectations. With the only real thing worth noting is the recommendation of including some kind of a campaign-specific mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you some guidelines like bonuses if you're working between factions if you want that in your game. Or basically a corruption mechanic where if you get hit badly enough by corrupted creatures, it'll start to scar you, which we've already seen mechanics for that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting stuff. Nothing that you'd really go into that much detail on, though.
Yeah.
But I'm happy it's there.
But obviously, adversaries and environments, that's going to be our bestiary part of this. So, first off, the stat block breakdown. We have the name, self-explanatory, the tier, i.e. which of the 4 tiers of play this is meant to be used for. The type. There will be adversary types. The Jagged Knife Bandit they use as an example here is the standard type. The description, motives and tactics, which is self-explanatory. The difficulty of it. Adversaries don't use evasion. Instead, all rolls against them use difficulty. The bandit tier has a difficulty of 12. If an adversary's feature doesn't specify a difficulty, like an agility reaction roll, it always uses the adversary's difficulty. Then damage thresholds, hit points, and stress, which works the same way as it does for PCs. The attack modifier, the standard attack, as well as how much damage it will do. Experience. Some adversaries have experiences. And features, which can be passives, actions, and reactions. Now, with adversary types, we have bruisers, hordes, leaders, minions, ranged, skulks, socials, solos, standards, and supports. Some of these adversary types very much remind me of the monster types that were in 4th, especially solos, which, well, as the name implies, is meant to be something that challenges a whole party by themselves.
Yeah, dude. I do like breakdown. I like these adversary types.
Mm-hmm. I also appreciate that it means we're not dealing with a one monster fits all, which is a temptation that can happen with a lot of bestiaries.
What do you mean by that? One creature fits all?
Yeah, having these kind of types allows for variations of one particular creature.
Oh, I
Just
see what you
it
mean.
just fills different types, because what these types are is essentially the role. If you could have a bunch of kobolds, but have one of them be a bruiser, one of them be a ranged, one of them be a skulk, that sort of thing.
A skulker.
Yeah. And that's more or less how monsters were treated in 4th edition. You had a page dedicated to just explaining what that monster was, and then several stat blocks that filled certain roles. There are certain exceptions, like say the Beholder was a solo. There's no variance of solos, because a solo is meant to take a whole party by themselves. So solos were often the what could be considered the big stick kind of adversaries. Your B-bags.
Or the bosses.
Yeah. Because bruisers are meant to be basically frontliners. I guess I could liken them to pinkies in Doom. Hordes are, well, hordes. Leaders are the frontline commanders. Minions are mooks. Ranged are self-explanatory. Skulks are ambushers. Socials are more about conversation than combat. I already mentioned solos. Standard are rank and files. And supports, well, support. I suppose I could also bring up the special types of undead in Left 4 Dead. And in that regard,
I mean,
a witch would certainly be a solo.
I feel like the tank would be a solo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The general rule is that a solo is something that would need to be a priority target, or at least a thing to focus on.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, everybody hears a witch. You hear the crying of a witch. Everybody starts getting quiet and starts moving very carefully as to not piss her off.
Yeah, no. Unless you can crown her.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that a couple times.
Yep. But adversaries, as mentioned, can have experiences, much in the same way that PCs can spend a hope to use one of their experiences. The GM can spend a fear to apply an adversary's experience to things like difficulty, to attack rolls, and to reaction rolls. And we do have a few example experiences. Then the features. A lot of these features are akin to special actions that PCs can do. In some cases, you mark a stress with them. Some cases, you spend a fear. Some adversaries require tokens to be placed on their stat blocks for certain features. And adversary actions are either going to be standard attacks, unique actions, or other actions. So everything else. And given a few examples for each. So then we have fear features, so you can spend a fear to activate those. Summoning features, so calling in an additional one. Calling in
Everyone's
a buddy.
favorite mechanic.
Mm-hmm. Then spotlighting features, so immediately spotlight one or more other adversaries. I do wonder how spotlighting would work if you're using the 3 token rule that we talked about before.
I'm going to assume that the book doesn't talk about it.
It doesn't seem to be the case, especially since that 3 token thing was an optional rule.
Yeah, I guess the GM would just have to figure that shit out.
Mm-hmm. But then we get to choosing adversaries, where it's talking about building combat encounters. Saying, when planning a battle, the following formula should determine how many battle points you should spend. Battle points are essentially the encounter budget. And the formula is 3 times the number of PCs in combat plus 2. Though it can be adjusted if need be. Like if you need an easier or shorter fight, that's one way to subtract. If you need an adversary from a lower tier, add a point. If you don't have any bruisers, hordes, leaders, or solos, add a point. Or if you want the fight to be more dangerous, add 2 points. So when it comes to spending them, each group of minions equal to the size of the party costs 1 point. Each social or support costs 1. Each horde, ranged, skulk, or standard costs 2. Each leader costs 3. Each bruiser costs 4. And a solo costs 5.
I like this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I like this function, or I guess, yeah, for determining how hard you want to beat your party's ass.
Mm-hmm. I feel like this is going to be a little bit more effective than, say, challenge rating, which I know I pick on challenge rating a lot. I'm probably not going to stop picking on it anytime soon. But with this kind of setup, it means that you can have things more flexible instead of locking you into only picking certain monsters based on the party's level. And
Oh yeah.
I have had that problem in the past where narratively there was a certain monster that fit, but it didn't fit the challenge rating of the encounter. And
sorry.
There's also the issue that challenge rating assumes a balanced party of 4.
I'd have
I mean,
less issue with a lot of those systems if they actually showed you how they put these monsters together. But it always feels like it makes no damn sense. I really think more systems need to include a creature creation system. A lot of that would be fixed even with the challenge rating.
Sorry for the timing, Bailey.
It's fine. It's fine.
But so then it goes into a bit more on each one and how to customize them, how to make them your own. The bruiser, as mentioned, they are meant to be the tanks, essentially. That's the vibe I get from them. Saying these heavyweights can take significant punishment and deal powerful blows. That's more or less the intent of a tank.
Uh-huh.
And they give two examples, the Minotaur Wrecker here and the Dire White. Which the Dire White is an undead ogre. You mentioned the tank in Left 4 Dead earlier, so there you go.
There he is. That's him right there.
But then the Horde, so this would be things like a swarm of rats, a swarm of bees. And you can hear Nicolas Cage screaming in the distance.
They're in my eyes.
But
The bees.
next I'm going, it's all ogre, guys. It's never over.
Oh god.
Shut up, Maxim. Goddamn.
Yeah. I have seen that particular video.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Mhm.
Now, this is something I'm gonna give this system credit for. Is each one of these under the making your own, it's giving you guidelines.
Mhm.
None of these are like hard and fast. Sometimes this has been a problem in certain systems because you're given this and nothing else. But once you scroll past this, you have like the guidelines for each individual one.
Mhm.
We have a pretty decently sized bestiary from all tier levels of play. So you get all these different examples of abilities, how strong they should be at each tier for each type. We're not going to be going over each individual one, obviously, but
Yeah.
this is a fantastic list of examples and guidance for creature creation.
I do want to note the passive effect on Horde. That being when a Horde has marked half or more of its HP, its standard attack does X amount of damage instead. Normally their attack will do, like for the zombie pack, once they're at half health, they'll do 1d4 plus 2 instead of 1d10 plus 2. Basically a way of saying once you've thinned out the Horde enough, they're not going to be doing as much damage.
Yeah, which is nice.
And it's not going to be that hard to do it because the zombie pack here only has 6 HP. So even if you're not doing big damage to it, you're going to be chipping away at it eventually, just because of how damage works in the game. And then we have a similar thing with the leader, which is obviously meant to be the one whose their weapon isn't their particular kit. Their weapon is the rest of the enemy party, essentially. But then we have Minion, which, as I mentioned earlier, Minion gives me the vibe of mooks. When a minion takes any damage, they're defeated. For every bit of damage they would do, you take out an additional minion within range. Though you can also have minions overwhelm somebody by spending a fear.
Oh, very nice.
Since the way they have it is that you choose a target and spotlight all adversaries with the same name within a certain range of them. These minions move into melee range of the target and make one shared attack roll. On success, they deal X damage each. Combine this damage. So, and of course, I don't know where the term mook originated, but I've always understood it as to refer to the grunts or the easily expendable guys in any action movie. You know, the suits that show up in the dozens and die by the dozens.
I got it, boss. Etc.
Mm-hmm. So then we have ranged. There's an implication that ranged are meant to be glass cannons, i.e., they can do decent damage at range, but if they get in close, they're kind of screwed. Is the vibe I get from the ranged type.
Yeah, I feel like typically that's how.
From the ranged type.
Yeah, I feel like typically that's how it works, huh?
Mm-hmm. We have the skulks, which I think skulks are akin to what rogues are going to be. They're meant to be ambushers, meant to be hit and run skirmishers. Oh.
Did the stream just go offline?
Hold on.
Oh, it's back or something, I think.
Yep. Yep, I believe it is. Well, it should. It's back on. It is back on Twitter.
It's still showing on YouTube fine for me. I just refreshed on Twitch, but it still says you're live. It's playing an ad right now for me, though, since I just refreshed it.
Yeah, sorry about that, folks. Nothing I can do about it. All right, looks like that problem's been averted. Don't know what happened there, but skulks seem to be the type that doesn't want to get into a slugfest. They want to hit and run, and probably do some sort of ambush. Which, in 4E there was the skirmisher archetype, and this is more or less in the same vein. Then we have social, which is more about social encounters. And solos, which is, as mentioned, are ones where you're supposed to be fighting a whole party by yourself. There's also a note that some solos have the Relentless feature, which lets the GM spotlight them multiple times during a GM turn. Others have multiple reactions that work in place of Relentless. Basically, they have more action opportunities to make up for the fact that they're meant to not play well with others. I think that works a little bit better than say, layer and legendary action as this limited action economy that sometimes is bullshit. Looking at you spend a legendary action to negate damage. Who the fuck thought that was a good idea?
The same person who thought not giving the Kraken a legendary action was a good idea.
It's a Kraken.
Krakens aren't legendary enough. You should know this.
Either that, or somebody really has it out for Clash of the Titans.
Or someone really likes calamari.
I mean, I like calamari, but I wouldn't have done that. And there is the standard version, which is, well, standard. I think there's a bit of a trickiness to how do you make what's supposed to be the rank and file interesting. they do state that standard adversaries might be average, but they don't need to be boring. And I feel like the intent with standard is that they're in the middle ground between all the other types. But then there's support, which is self-explanatory. Remember, folks, geek the mage first. And
Do you say eat the mage first?
geek.
Oh, well, I shouldn't have eaten that guy then. Sorry.
Hopefully it came with a nice Chianti.
Oh, you know it.
But then we have a thing on improvising adversaries. Like sometimes you want to use an adversary, but they're too powerful or not powerful enough for the party's tier. Or you want to replace a feature of two, then present them as a different creature. And while we don't have a full adversary creation system, this is a nice gimme. Basically a way to improv the core stats, if need be.
Yes.
So it wouldn't take much to use this as a base for monster creation.
And again, with the guidelines given in the actual descriptions of type, paired with the sheer degree of examples you have, that's not going to be a hard thing to do to make your own stuff for this system.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to adjusting between tiers, as well as the damage dice, adding or changing features, improvising hordes, minions, and solos, then defeated adversaries. So there's ways to work with that. Then we have the full list of adversaries by tier.
Now, I have been looking over these to just kind of see anything worth noting. Something will say, you see something that doesn't really happen below tier 3 that does start to happen at tier 3 and above. And that's enemies having ways to kind of take advantage or mess with your hope. For example, so some of these enemies will deal additional damage effectively to anyone who doesn't have any hope left.
Oof.
You have the Ice Dragon, which, if you roll with fear while within range of this thing, you lose hope. And up to 4th tier, there is one guy that you cannot use hope actions against. These are not common amongst all these higher things, but at the higher tiers, you do start seeing abilities that start messing with the player's fear and hope.
Yeah.
Which is slightly terrifying considering the impact they have on the system. And I'm happy it's not like just a lower tier thing this has been set to. It seems relegated to the higher end stuff.
Mm-hmm. And of course, tier 3s involve a lot of the demons, as well as greater elementals and the like.
Oh hey, the Kraken. Whenever it makes a successful attack against a PC, you gain a fear. That's nice.
I mean, that's fair. I'd get pretty scared if I saw a Kraken smack my homie.
or see one just show up in the middle of the ocean.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm scared of sea monsters, so I'd get like 2 fear, at least.
And tier 4 has things like the Fallen, as well as and as mentioned, the Kraken, which actually gets worse the more they have 11 HP. The difficulty is 20, and their tentacles are doing 4d12 plus 10 damage.
40, 10 plus 12. Jesus.
Uh, and they can be spotlighted up to 3 times per turn. Well, per GM,
Three
per GM
times.
turn. Spending
Oh.
fear as usual. And I have a feeling the outer realms monsters are meant to be, the legally distinct version of mind flayers. Well, the thrall certainly is. The corruptor feels like whatever that thing was in the color out of space, and the abomination feels like something else. Feels like a chaos spawn.
You always gotta have one.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible tentacle creature.
Yeah. It is amusing that we have 3 types of volcanic dragon, and each of them are different varieties of horrible.
I really like the look they did for the art for the Molten Scourge one, though. That thing looks terrifying.
It is like if you took
Most of the art for these monsters are really good.
It's like if you took a Draco Lich and dumped them in Mount Doom, but it didn't die. But
yeah, we'll notice when we get to using environments,
mm-hmm.
It has the exact same setup with name, tier, type, description,
Mm-hmm.
impulses, difficulty. It looks like they're treated largely the same as the actual creatures.
Yeah, just without HP.
Yeah.
So I guess you could liken them to terrain effects that you see in certain video games.
Yeah.
That seems to be one of the major vibes that I get out of this. The potential adversary thing is a nice touch as well. So you have some idea about what would be a good idea to put in there, so you don't end up putting in monsters that make no sense.
Yeah.
But then we have the environment types, which are explorations, socials, traversals, and events. This is more or less in the same vein as the types for adversaries.
Now, just to note what kind of features, just picking a random one out, say Outpost Town,
Mm-hmm.
a Tier 1 social. One of the features is any failure. The locals respond poorly to their inquiries. The PC must mark a stress to learn one relevant rumor.
Yeah. There's also these italicized questions at the bottom of each feature, which I feel like are more for the GM to go, okay, here's why that feature might be present here.
Yeah.
And we do have advice for adapting environments. And I like that they're not all, even though it's called environment, not all of them are locations. Like some of them are events or just moving from places.
Yeah.
It could be very tempting to treat all of this as just different types of terrain, but that's not the approach they're going with. Like for example, something like Castle Siege.
Oh yeah, pretty cool idea. Rolling up on a siege.
Mm-hmm. or something like pitched battle, because I always appreciate when some sort of mass combat rules are present within a game. Especially when you consider the inspirations that people are going to be drawing from. That's a question that's going to come up.
Oh, for sure.
And then the tier 4 ones, I think it's interesting that we have one environment for each of the major types. Traversal, event, social, and exploration.
Chaos Realm, Imperial Court.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just like with monster creation, we got a lot of good examples to follow here to pair with some of the previous guidelines. You're not going to be hurting to come up with your own locations with their own interesting set of mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
This actually may be the best guidance bits we've seen in this whole book. And there's been some good ones before, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
This does wonders for helping the DM out.
Yeah. Now, campaign frame is essentially the framework just before session 0.
Yeah, that's kind of what I broke down just at the beginning. It's session 0 with some ideas for campaign-specific mechanics you might want to put together.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice to have.
And
not typically the kind of stuff we'd go that into detail here anyway.
What I will notice is that the example ones that they give me a vibe of showing that even though this game is trying to be setting agnostic, it is at least giving you a bone when it comes to the setting question.
Yeah.
Since that is a recurring problem I've seen with games that do this sort of settingless approach.
Yeah.
I did a whole rant about Fabula Ultima's half-assedness when it comes to non-setting.
Yeah. I will say this gives you enough with like a bare bones setting and mechanics to kind of establish what kind of game this is supposed to be, even without necessarily having a set world.
Yeah, but the bigger part that certainly helps is giving advice on where you might put certain communities, certain races, and classes.
Yeah.
As well as some that might have a bit more of a footprint in a campaign. And admittedly, this is a pet peeve I've had with campaign setting books that just go, all the classes are viable in this setting. Yeah, but you can at least give me something to show, okay, how would you fit in the particular classes? Some of them are obvious. I don't think I'm gonna need a bunch of advice on how the fighter class is going to fit in most fantasy settings. But the different kinds of spellcaster, that's another story. Like, how is the more typical druid going to fit into a setting if you're in an area that's largely desert?
They can turn into a cactus. Final answer.
We call them cactus huggers instead of tree huggers. Problem solved.
Yep, exactly. See?
Just switch up the insult.
Yeah, that's one thing. But I think you guys get what I'm going for with that.
Oh yeah.
No, I get it.
Or if I'm running a setting that is clearly supposed to be a fantasy spin on Western Europe, I am going to raise an eyebrow if somebody picks monk. effects of you're just like putting them in tricky situations.
Oh my god, dude.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is a nice little suggestion to put in is the inciting incident. This you may not need to use this, but this is a really great way to avoid one of the more persistent persistent tropes to the point where it's become kind of a meme. You all meet in a tavern.
I mean, I got away one time with just opening the game where all of my players were on just caught on a slaver ship.
Yeah, boats are a good one. Big fan of boats.
I like boats unless I'm playing a game in the East series, because I know what's going to happen whenever Adol is on any kind of boat.
It blows up?
Sinks.
Oh,
It always-
that's kind of the same thing.
I do think I did start one encounter with the party free falling because I wanted to do a fantasy version of ODSTs.
That's pretty cool, actually.
I know someone might say, "Wouldn't you want to do a fantasy version of Helldivers?" That game wasn't out yet. But the example campaign frames we have are the Witherwild, which is more of a nature theme. Five Banners Burning, which is a full-on war. Beast Feast. Hunting monsters and cooking them.
Hell yeah, dude. Dungeon Meshi.
Yep, they even name dropped that.
Oh, I love that.
See, what did they have for? So of course, Five Banners Burning. One of the with each of them, they put in themes and touchstones. For Five Banners Burning, one of them was a Song of Ice and Fire. To which, if I end up running that and have an ending to that, I'll probably end it with, "See, George Martin, it's not that hard."
You mean finishing a series?
Yeah. Then we have the Age of
Maybe it's harder when you're like 80 years old. Like, how old is he? Like 90? 95,000?
I'd like to say that, but I know people older than him who have finished their own damn stories, so he's not getting out of it. But the Age of Umbra, which is going with this dying world motif. Yes, they drew upon Dark Souls, Berserk, and Blasphemous. Let's see. Motherboard, which is very Magitech adjacent. The Colossus of the Drylands, and yes, they are drawing upon Shadow of the Colossus as well as Red Dead Redemption. Interesting. But then,
Very.
yeah, the final section is the appendix, which a lot of the stuff that's in the appendix we've already covered. You know, referencing the different domain cards, the character sheet along with its sidecar, some of the additional reference sheets, which I appreciate these being in black and white so you could easily print them out. A sheet dedicated, actually several sheets dedicated to being a reference for Druid's beast form, as well as the Ranger Companion and the module system for the motherboard touchstone, and a blank map, or a couple of them. With some names you can fill in, as well as maps for the different campaign frames. which some of these I wouldn't mind putting up on a wall and colorizing.
Oh
Well,
wow, those are actually pretty nice maps.
mhm.
When you
But
said blank map, I kind of just expected just like a blank sheet, like a blank square.
Fabula did that, and I roasted them over an open flame for that. And of course, we do have a index with all of the index parts being hyperlinked, which is nice. And at the back end, we have a dedicated character sheet for each of the classes within the book, and all of the ability cards for a print and play kind of thing. So with that said, that more or less covers everything within Daggerheart. So as a whole, what did you guys think of the system we've got?
I think it's surprisingly more detailed and well written than I thought it'd be, honestly. And also I liked a lot more of it than I thought I would. Like a lot of the things that they do I think are actually like good decisions to make for a TTRPG.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. Of course.
I'll say, putting aside the mechanics themselves for a second, I think this book is actually a great example of how to get some good, like, guidance for your DM and players. There are so many well done examples and explanations for why things are done the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of, if you've seen some of the other things we've covered on this, there have been some TPRPGs that could have learned from that example.
Valhalla.
I don't think any amount of explanation or guidance would have fixed that one.
Okay, I know Valhalla's our baby boy, but what would be a close second then if not that?
I am horrible with names.
Fabula Ultima, just because I know Mildred likes roasting Fabula Ultima.
I've not looked at Fabula Ultima. The point is, there's been a lot of systems we've covered that have been lacking in guidance that needed it.
And I know I bring up the guidance thing a lot, and I will continue to bring up the guidance thing. But but the other reason I bring it up is that every time I get on a game for not having proper guidance, I end up having a bunch of people strawman me and say, "Oh, you just want to be handheld." Guidance is not hand-holding. It can, however, be hand-breaking if not done properly.
Yes. As for the system itself, though, there's a lot of options.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of interesting options, which is probably the important thing to point out. I think my only hang-up here is I still...
Oh. We lost you for a second, Monarch. Give it a minute, he'll be back.
Trying to just ruin the game. You may end up with a lot of instances.
You cut out
person who have a why they should get decision that's going.
Okay, what the hell? Okay, Discord is acting up on me.
Yeah, Discord's also acting up on me.
Yeah, you cut in and out throughout that entire thing.
Oh. So fundamentally, I think Spotlight has an issue where if your entire table isn't always on the same page, you're going to have instances where the DM has to make a choice that is going to bother somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care for that kind of system. I'm not a fan of Spotlight. That's the only real thing I'd change if I were able to ever to be running a game like this.
Yeah,
That's obviously a personal preference to a degree, though.
Mm-hmm.
But it is something to take into account.
And you are going to have folks who are approaching this as the first RPG that they've ever played, and I feel like Daggerheart wants to be more noob friendly. But what was your take on it, Bailey?
I like it. Thought it was gonna be like, honestly, I thought it was gonna be like a side grade to D&D, but I feel like it's probably a lot better than D&D, honestly, at least and from my personal preferences. Because yes, a lot of stuff is explained. A lot of the stuff seems easier to manage. Like I said, I was able to make a character pretty easily
Mm-hmm.
in the system. Just to see how it would work. It gives you some solid choices for leveling up your character, which D&D doesn't do as much. I feel like if you don't pick a ability score increase, you're kind of just gimping yourself sometimes. So I do appreciate that about this game. And multi-classing seems easy, and there's not even really like a need to multi-class anyway.
Yeah, you don't need to, but you might want to.
Yeah, but in like a game like D&D, like just having those 3 fighter levels is just so good.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The div classes.
Yeah. And of course, if you want to do any kind of multi-classing, D&D is going to, regardless of edition, is going to be fighting you.
Yeah. And in this, it seems a lot more modular, I guess.
Yeah. And as for me, in terms of where I'd put it on my scoring metric, I don't think it would be out of the way to put this as strongly recommended. Even with the problems with spotlights and the like, I don't think that's enough to bump it down the grade.
Yeah.
Like it can certainly be an issue. The card thing could potentially be an issue, but Darrington has been very good regarding virtual tabletop support so far. So I don't think that is going to be as much of an issue as it could have been. They've also been very good as far as giving guidance to people who want to homebrew their stuff, and even made a whole site just for making custom cards for their game.
Like custom card
the
decks.
only argument I could see against putting this in strongly recommended is it is clearly heavily leaning towards a very story-centric style of play compared to a lot of other systems, which might limit who you want to play it a bit more. But I think that'd be kind of a stretch to use that as a reason not to put it up to strongly recommended.
Yeah.
Worth noting for anyone looking to get into it that is going to be a heavy lean from how the mechanics of this game work. But as long as you know that going in, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Now, when I covered the beta, and early on in this series, I did say that I have a feeling this game will be controversial for stupid reasons. And do I still hold that stance? Yes. Part of the reason I waited to cover Daggerheart, aside from the fact that when the game dropped, Monarch and I were finishing something else, it is equally to do with the fact that a lot of people who have been covering the game have been covering the game from the wrong angle. I.e., it's been a case of, oh, does the game live up to the hype, or is the game is or is the how is the Critical Role devs, how's the Critical Role people handling making their own game, or some kind of hot take on the previous work of some of the writers. I.e., pulling some sort of genetic fallacy, which does no one any favors. I wanted to cover this in a way that was as neutral as we could possibly do it. Because I do feel that a lot of people who have covered it have done so as a proxy for everything they don't like about certain styles of play, especially more narrativist styles. I have had the term theater kids thrown at me more times than I would like to admit. Because some people in the self-proclaimed old school crowd really hate narrativist styles, referring to them as theater kids. Sweet irony is some of the people I know who use that term I knew from theater plays that I was in.
I mean, it takes one to know one, right? I was gonna say that I could see a little bit of the theater kid peeking out in this game, especially with the spotlight mechanic. Like, come on.
Oh, it's there. It's definitely there.
It's definitely there, but I feel like that's a buzzword critique that doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah.
That's not.
Wait,
that's my
weren't you a theater kid?
Yeah, but saying a game is for theater kids doesn't tell me anything about the game itself.
I
Because
mean,
the term is used as a straw man.
I guess not doesn't tell you anything specific, but it kind of gives you it can give you a vibe, I feel like.
Maybe there's
Bit of a vibe.
Maybe. Kind of like having Reed Richards drawn and quartered sometimes. How's that for a visual?
Hello, visual.
And I will admit the other reason I'm a bit dismissive of the theater kid analog is that it usually is coming from grogs. I have made no bones about the fact that I do not respect grognards.
Yes, you have made that clear.
Mm-hmm. But
so I can't say that this that Daggerheart is a little bit theater kid.
It certainly is. I'm just not giving that crowd the satisfaction. I am.
Okay.
I am.
I'll give them the satisfaction for you.
Well, if the. You know what? There's a joke I could make, but not too easy.
Now say it. You have to let me know.
If they really need satisfaction that much, I know a few people in Vegas who could help out.
The hot dog stands?
Kind of, depending on how you're looking at it.
Hell yeah, dude. I can't wait to go to Vegas for the hot dogs.
Look, what happens
Wait, is this 18 plus?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I won't say anything still though, but it's good to know.
Mhm. But with that said, that is going to do it for this particular episode. Uh, as mentioned, due to IRL obligations, this will be Monarch's last one as a full-time appearance in the Valley.
I still may pop up from time to time if a one shot he wants to cover comes up and I'm free in the evening. I may be able to jump on.
Mhm.
But yeah, sadly, work is gonna have me not available anymore.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
That being said, the next episode of there will be a couple in between episodes in the next couple weeks. So next week, I'm planning on doing just a yap stream with some of the new people who will be coming in to kind of fill in that spot. Just to get everyone on the same page about their background and what's to come. Uh, and the week after, we'll begin proper with um, with looking at the quick start for Blue Planet Recontact, a game that I backed years ago. It's still in the works. It's just a slow process, but it'll it'll be a nice shift going from high fantasy to going into a very oceanic based science fiction.
Oceanic and science fiction. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and Blue Planet's been around for a while as an RPG, and
That was my first time hearing about it.
and its particular approach really focuses on this science fiction within the ocean. I think I made a Sequest analogy when I first came across it.
Ryan Sequest.
No, I'm not
Oh.
going to. I'm not going to lower that show's that show to the level of Ryan Seacrest.
All right, fair. I'm just saying. I just had to say it.
Yeah.
I've never actually seen that show.
Mhm.
Sequest.
It was quite a while ago. But after that, unless some surprise drops into my lap, later this month we will be returning to the wonderful and fascinating world of Japanese tabletop with Sataspe, which describes itself as an Asian punk RPG and is its own brand of crazy.
Does it actually call itself Asian punk?
Yes. It says so right on the damn cover.
Huh. I've never heard that.
Yeah, neither did I until it dropped on my lap.
Did the bird drop it on your lap?
No.
Oh.
The things that
Well, that's a shame.
birds drop are not allowed on my lap unless it wants to learn very quickly about the price of trespassing. But and of course, I've mentioned this a couple times this week, but later this month will be the start of the Sword World themed podcast, Record of Sword Forged Worlds. That will be starting on the 14th. So keep an eye out for that. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.
Joy. 年中心